Achlin, Sachlin. My name is Soraya. It means Queen of Light in Arabic. I am from Egypt. Alhamdulillah. Also in Deutschland habe ich so viele von dieser Arbeit gemacht. Ich habe das in Hannover, es ist in the Nähe from Frankfurt. Why you look at me that way? Have you never seen anyone go from an Arabic Egyptian accent to a Deutsche, a German accent? Really? My name is Soraya Morgan Gutman. My father is a first-generation Egyptian. My mother, a first-generation German. My husband, a first-generation Russian, and our dogs are Hungarian. I bet you're wondering what our family holidays are like. I bet you're also wondering what my background could possibly have to do with you. Everything. But we'll get to that in a minute. Have you ever felt disconnected? Disconnected from a particular person that you most want to, that you most need to connect to, but seem unable? If so, this talk is for you. I'm going to talk to you about how you can connect to anybody you need to connect to, regardless of age, personality, temperament, or background. By the use of body language, specific words, and a clear attitude. I call it CAD, Connect Authentically by Disarming. And it starts with Queen Cleopatra. She was an amazing connector. But what's most fascinating about her is that Cleopatra was not even Egyptian. She was ethnically Greek. She was the first one in her family to teach herself Egyptian. And not only that, we know that she taught herself at least 6 other languages. Languages of people that were very different from her, including her enemies. So what was the result? The Egyptian people loved Cleopatra. She kept Egypt very prosperous during her reign and independent from Roman rule and other enemies for the 20 years that she ruled Egypt. Now let's fast forward 3,000 years to my beginnings. My father, Nabil, was the first one in his family to leave Egypt. My mother, Erica, was the first one in her family to leave Germany. They met in an international party at the University of Toronto. They both barely spoke English, yet they fell in love, got married, and had me. And when my father graduated, we moved to Texas. Being raised in Dallas in the mid-70s was a challenge if you're half Egyptian and half German. Everybody in my neighborhood, everybody I went to school with, were Texans. Most of them never even left the state. I had a hard time connecting with the kids. It was a very lonely time for me. And I've never said this publicly, but I blamed my parents, and I was ashamed of their thick accents, of people not understanding them. I blamed my background and my parents for me not being able to connect. It was at that time my father decided my brother Amir and I needed to spend some time in Egypt and Germany. And when we were in Egypt, I saw some very specific characteristics of Egyptian people. First of all, they move their arms a lot. You can see here, that's Anwar Sadat. And that's me before I went bleach blonde. With Anwar Sadat, my father won an award for his contributions in geophysics. Would you all agree that we're going through a lot of change now in our country? Yeah. Well, Egyptians actually not just do well in change, they thrive in it. Egyptians are big picture. They like to talk about their dreams and details, schmeetails. They're great at being able to connect with people. They are very relationship-based. Another interesting thing I noticed about Egyptians is that they look at life as a journey. And if you look at life as a journey, well, when things don't go well in your family or they don't go well at work, it's just really kind of a bump in the road because you're looking at the journey. When we went to Germany, I noticed characteristics that were almost polar opposites. That's me with my German relatives, and that's Chancellor Merkel. As you can see, their body language, very stiff. Germans typically have very, very subdued body language, and unlike Egyptians, they don't do well with change. Germans thrive with structure, and they're excellent planners. They do care a lot about the details, and unlike Egyptians, they're not relationship-based. They focus on data and facts. It's not that they don't have strong relationships, but that's not the highest component of a German. The Germans, unlike the Egyptians, are very goal-focused. Where Egyptians are about the journey, Germans are about the goal. So when we went back to Dallas, armed with this new data I had acquired at a very young age, 12, 13 years old, I started looking at everybody in Dallas. It was so clear to me, oh, he's an Egyptian, she's a German. And then what I did is my behavior and my body language and the words that I used would mirror them. So if I needed to connect to somebody who I could easily see was an Egyptian, I used my body language more as they did. And I would talk about their ideas, their dreams, chit-chat more before I got to the information that I needed. And if I met someone who I could clearly see was a German, I put my arms to my side. I waited for them to speak, and I would respond in a factual, accurate way. You see, this technique spawned my ability to start, grow, and successfully sell a business advisory company. And I'm going to share one of the biggest secrets that has helped me in my life and has helped thousands of entrepreneurs, is to be able to connect with somebody in real time and connect to them first by the body language. Are they an Egyptian? Are they German? As you probably can guess, even though I'm half Egyptian and half German, I take more of the Egyptian temperament. My husband, Ilya, he's very much a German. His tone of voice is always calm, no matter what's going on in our family. In 20 years, I almost never remember him raising his voice. That makes me feel very, very safe, and my daughter as well. Now, my daughter, Mila, she's also very much a German. Like all high-performing Germans, she's got a grit work ethic. She's also very good at details. She's caught me many times leaving the house with 2 different color shoes on, sweater inside out, with a label sticking out. Like, she catches these minute details. I never do. Also, like typical Germans, she's not very touchy-feely. But over the years, Mila has allowed me to give her big hugs because she knows it makes me so happy. Now, unlike typical Germans, however, she's got a fantastic sense of humor. I mean, have you ever seen a German stand-up comedian? But Mila's funny, and that she gets from me. Now, what about you? Are you more of an Egyptian or are you more of a German? Let's find out. If you think you're more of a German, can you raise your hand? Can you raise your hand? Okay, now would you mind standing up? That's right, Germans. I know. It's so out of your comfort zone. Thank you. Stand up. Stand up, Germans. I asked the Germans to do it because I know it was more difficult for you. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look around at the people that are sitting. I'd like you to look around at the people that are sitting. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the hand of someone at a different table who's sitting. I want you to look them in the eye, and hopefully you'll be able to have a little chat with them at the break. Do that now. Reach across the aisle and take the hand of someone who's sitting, Germans. Do that now. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. You can sit down now. Thank you. Thank you. So we all want to be around people that are like us. It's safe. But real growth comes from people that are different. So for example, in our family, I'm ethnically half German and half Egyptian with an Egyptian temperament. My husband, Ilya, is ethnically Russian with a German temperament. How is it that we have such differences, but we have such a strong relationship? Ilya and I believe powerfully in everything that matters to us. Let's take the raising of my daughter, Mila. I travel about once every couple of months, and when I travel, Ilya takes on the role that he knows that, and has my daughter do all the things that he knows I would feel very strongly about. We know that all is well at the well when we are with our family at Bible class. And so when I'm not there, my husband takes my daughter to Bible class. And like he knows I would want to do, he sits in Bible class. My husband and I, because we want to show our daughter that through our actions, learning and growing and understanding the Word of God from the Bible never stops. We agreed to raise our daughter Christian. My husband is not just ethnically Russian with a German temperament. He's also Jewish. Now I bet you're really wondering what our family holidays are like. So we talked about connecting through body language. I'm going to share with you the most powerful word that you can connect to somebody that you really want to let them know you appreciate them. And that word answers the question, why? And the word is because. Because. When you put in the word because, psychologically, it makes 5 exclamation points on how much you appreciate that person. I want to thank you, my dear millennium. I want to thank you, my dear atheist. I want to thank you, my dear liberal or conservative person that you most want to connect to. Because of your efforts, it resulted in me in this way. So connecting. But these are all ways to make the first contact. How do you sustain a relationship? Well, there's only one way, and that is by being authentic. Now, you're probably saying to me, well, how can I be authentic when I'm having to connect with somebody that is so different than me? Focus on your purpose and focus on commonality. So, for example, here is an informal picture of one of our company board meetings. And you can see here is the CEO, John Gutman, brilliant visionary. It's a privilege to work with him. His arms are up. He's an Egyptian. Next to him, by the way, next to him in the plaid shirt is his brother, who is very much a German. You can see me, my hands are up, I'm the Egyptian, and next to me are our other 2 board members, Adriana and Carrie, both Germans. This is an example of a company that's thriving. But how is it that our differences don't clash? Because we focus on a common purpose. And our purpose is to actualize the highest potential of everyone we work with to help them thrive. And we do that by launching their brand inside out. And we do it by doing the right thing, what we call be a mensch. And that means sometimes we lose money if we're doing the right thing by our client. What is that one thing that is authentic to you that you could share to that one person that you most want to, that you most need to connect with? Finally, there's D for disarm. So you can disarm through body language. That's the first way. You mirror their body language for a few minutes. I'm going to share with you the most powerful words you can use to disarm anybody you need to disarm. But before I do that, let me ask you this. How many of you feel it's really important to be right at least 60% of the time? Can you raise your hand? Yeah, I see a lot of Germans there. Now let me ask you this, and please do not respond. How many of you have ever gone through a divorce? How many of you have ever had children that made really bad choices? Now let me ask you this. What did it matter that you were right if you couldn't connect to the person that you most want to connect to? You see, in our family, my husband knows viscerally how I believe in God, in Jesus Christ, my Savior, and the Holy Spirit. And yet he is Jewish. So with our daughter, we teach her a commonality of the 10 Commandments. What is it? Whether he thinks I'm right or I think he's right with our religion, what does it matter if we connect and focus on the commonality that we both believe in powerfully? From the Old and New Testament, the 10 Commandments. Now, before I share these words with you, I also want to say that you only say these words when you're in a position of power. So somebody that works for you, or a child, or on an equal level, in a healthy, respectful relationship like a spouse. And by the way, you don't just say this when you're in a position of power or in an equal position. You say this typically when you know you're right. I may be wrong. I'm often wrong. I want to get it right. Can we go over the facts? And if they're Egyptian, you say, can we chat about this now? If they're German, you say, can we make an appointment on Tuesday at 3 o'clock? I may be wrong. Because the most important component that I learned from our trip back from Germany and Egypt was a sense of humbleness. Because what I realized when I went back to Dallas was that it wasn't because of my parents' background that I couldn't connect to all these kids. It wasn't because of their accents, and it wasn't because I was ethnically German or Egyptian. It was because of me, my lack of humbleness, my lack of interest in them, my inability to listen to them, to watch them, to observe them. Now, would you like to know what our family holidays are like? So about 20 years ago, we had our first holiday, and we didn't know what to celebrate. So we celebrated New Year's. And the first thing my mother said to my mother-in-law, would you like to see naked pictures of my daughter? And she showed baby pictures of me, and it broke the ice. And since then, we've been getting together every year for Hanukkah, for German Christmas, December 24th, American Christmas, December 25th, and Egyptian Christmas, January 7th. We get together not because we have to, but because we want to. It's not that we agree on a lot of things, but we keep our authentic connection. And in our family, that's love and love of the children. What is it with you? What is it with you with that one person that you so want to, that you so need to connect to, that you can find authentically that strength? Sadly, my mother passed away 8 years ago. And when I asked my father, who had the most profound impact on him, who helped him the most during his most difficult times, my father said, aside from my brother Amir and I, there was one person far beyond anybody else. And that one person was my Jewish mother-in-law, Paulina, who has family in Israel. Just as sadly, my father passed away 3 years ago. I got the news while I was driving in my car with my daughter, and I had to pull over in the driveway. And when I heard the news, this noise came out of my body that I couldn't even describe. It was like an alien sound. And my daughter, who typically very German, wants to know everything that's going on when things are not going to plan, didn't say a word. Mila just took off her seatbelt, took her hand, and rubbed my arm. Don't be sad, Mom. Don't be blue. I will always love you. And that calmness gave me the ability, in a very soft voice, to call my husband to let him know the news that my dad had died. And as soon as I told him, he screamed the same guttural noise that came out of my body. And I knew at that moment, through the grace of God, that these two most important people in my life had connected with me in a way that I had connected with people all my life. So if our family, with our diverse backgrounds, can authentically connect, I have no doubt that each and every one of you can walk out that door and connect to that one person you know you want to, you need to connect to, powerfully.